Today, I'm going head to head in an interview with a very successful Bitcoin and crypto trader, Calvin Wade. Now I know there's a lot of you guys out there who wants to get into crypto trading, who are looking into it, who are interested in it. But the thing is, when we talk about crypto trading, one of the most important things that you need in this is a mentor, because it takes time to learn this. And with Calvin's 10 to 11 years of experience as a successful Bitcoin and crypto trader who made millions out of it, I think there's no one better than him. He does have a channel where he shares updates and insights on cryptoinfluencers.com. I'll put the link in the description. He have a free channel, but he also have a members only pro channel, so you'll need to buy a monthly subscription of that channel. In that, you'll get all the insights and the charts that he uses and the trades that he makes. You'll get to talk to him by yourself. You'll be able to engage in discussions, and you'll be able to see the trades that he make. He actually does Zoom call in which people can join and they can see him actually trade in front of them, the mistakes that he makes, the profit that he makes, the advice that he gives. It's all up there. So I think this is a really good opportunity for those of you guys who are looking into crypto trading. Again, links will be in the description, and also put down the link, a coupon that you can use if you want to become a member of his pro channel. So make sure that you get that from the description. And without any further ado, let's get right into it. Hello, everyone who tuned into this interview. I'm Crypto Pablo, and I'm joined here with Calvin Wade, who you probably have read and heard from the introduction, is a very successful Bitcoin and crypto trader, and alongside this, an amazing consultant. Now, he raised millions of dollars trading, and today we'll get to learn how he did that and how we can do that possibly. Now, as I mentioned in the introduction, he does have a pro members only channel on cryptoinfluencers.com. I'll be giving you guys a link that will be in the description along with a coupon, so make sure that you use that. Now, there he shares most critical insights about trading, including the charts that he uses and the trades that he makes on a daily basis. Now, we'll be able to learn a lot from there, and we're going to talk about it further in this interview. So make sure that you watch till the end. Now, and if you have any question further, you can put them down in the comment section. Now, first of all, thank you so much for taking out time for this interview. I'm really honored to have you here. And before we start, the whole line of questioning, I'll let you introduce yourself in your own words and, tell us about your experiences and the achievements that you have made in the last 10 to 11 years as Bitcoin and crypto trader.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate you letting me be here as well. It's good to have a conversation with somebody who's been around this space for a long time.
Yeah.
So I was first introduced to Bitcoin by a friend in 2012.
Right.
And the price was around $12.50. And I was just amazed by it. I have my education is in finance. So I have a undergrad and a master's degree in finance. And so I kind of understand a lot of that. Most of what you learn in trading, though, is mostly self-taught. I kind of feel like when the way you behave around money, it's almost a personality rather than a, so you can learn a lot of things and you can become better at it for sure. But certain personality types really excel well in trading. And I had a fascination with Bitcoin immediately. In fact, when he told me what it was, I said, well, so what do you mean by a digital currency? Like, anything digital back in my mind was something that could easily be reproduced. You could copy and paste anything. And he said, this is trading for $5. And I was like, wait a minute, how could it be worth more than $1? And all my finance kind of knowledge of how markets work, and if it's a free market and the world's voting on what an asset is worth, the fact that something that should be infinite in numbers should be zero. Like it should be not worth more than $1. And so I was immediately like, how is this possible? And he said, well, they figured out how to limit it to 21 million. And from that point on, I was hooked. Literally, I understood the point and believed that it was true, that Bitcoin really was what it was within literally 5 minutes. And I was like, how do I get these? And I started, asking him. And back then I was dirt poor, and and had
Right.
a lot to go, to really be able to improve where I was at. But I started Bitcoin back in 2012, and slowly over time, I was able to increase what I had. And by 2018, I quit my job and
Right.
I've been trading full time ever since. And I'm fairly successful at it. And I love doing it. I could just trade on my own
Right.
and just live my own little life. But I just kind of have this thing where it's really fun to rub shoulders with other people and get other opinions. And so the point of my trading channel is to where people that are really insightful and different things, we can exchange ideas and really dig into the nuances of trading. So hopefully
Right.
that's a brief introduction. There's a lot more
Yeah.
to go that goes into this, but
Yeah, we'll be covering that
I really
in
enjoy
this.
this
Yeah.
stuff.
So you mentioned about the exchange of ideas. Related to this, can you tell us about the channel, the pro channel that you have on the cryptoinfluences.com, and what sort of information and the insights that we can get from there, and how there be a possibility of exchanging of ideas there?
Yeah. So if you've ever joined any kind of a Telegram group or a Discord or something, then what you'll normally find, this is pretty typical, is you'll find people that are screaming about an amazing trade they had. They'll be bragging about some wonderful thing they have. They'll be telling everyone how they're right and everyone's wrong. And it's really emotional. These trading channels are super emotional, and they're excited about this meme coin and that meme coin. And our channel has none of that.
Right.
The point of our channel is to talk about risk. These other channels, they try to get as much emotion in there as possible. So if you want to be a good salesman, you want as much emotion as possible, because people make bad decisions, or they can be easily manipulated when there's a lot of emotion. In trading, if you're a professional, you want to figure out how to reduce the amount of emotion in your trading. It needs to be scientific. It needs to be well analyzed. And in our trading channel, we talk about risk. We talk about what could be and what can be, but we talk
Right.
about the what ifs. So, okay, so this particular portfolio, if we're expecting things to drop, so maybe
Right.
we're in a short position. Well, what is the sensitivity analysis on if I'm wrong? What happens? How bad do things get when things go the other way? And we talk about it, and
Right.
we kind of talk through where are the parameters, because it's not about emotion, and it's not about trying to get people on board. It's trying to get people to think clearly about where does this blow up? Where do we have to change our minds when more evidence is presented? As more data comes in, as daily charts come through, at what point does something break, and at what point does something need adjustments? And we're always looking at it from a risk standpoint. So that way, if I was, let's say I was just a perfect trader, and
Right.
I hit everything 99% of the time, but in the 1% of the time, it blows up my entire account. Do you think I could do this for 5 years?
Right.
If I'm not always watching risk and always thinking about that and calming down the channel, don't stop looking at meme coins, guys. It's not gonna help you.
Yeah.
And we just do things in a different way. Sorry about that.
It's okay.
So hopefully that
Yeah.
kind of gives you an
Yeah.
idea. So it's a different group.
Right. So you mentioned about the emotion, and definitely the crypto trading is an emotional roller coaster. So, what tips do you have for staying calm and rational, especially during periods of high volatility?
If I stay calm during
Yeah.
volatility, it's kind of built in. I've been in Bitcoin a long time, and I've watched the price go from $12 to $1,000, and then back down to 160, and then back up to 20,000. And I've seen these things, and when things get really volatile, what keeps me grounded is that our market is pretty mature. It is an extremely unusual event that a price point is never seen ever again.
Right.
Um, it so the thing I like to say is that patience is free. Impatience costs you.
Yeah.
And so if you're in an upside down position, but you've got your position size small enough and you've got plenty of liquidity, you can sit in a bad spot for quite a long time. And eventually it'll probably come back around. So it just depends on where your risk tolerance is and whether your portfolio can handle it from a liquidity standpoint. But um, patience is free. And if your risk is managed, you can wait a long time for something to come back around. And I have plenty of trades where I've entered, it kind of blew up on me, and I waited a year. And a year
Right.
later, I was in profits, and it didn't matter. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, I mean, it doesn't always work out that way, but most often it will.
Right. Okay. What I'm personally curious is I I entered crypto not more than 5 years ago, so I don't have an idea on how the market was like back in 2012. So, and you were obviously there. So, can you tell me what
Yeah.
was the market like in at that time, and how has your trading strategy evolved over these years, and what lessons have you learned?
So, the flavor has completely changed. When
Right.
I was first involved in it, all the other traders were very extremely emotional tech guys. I
Right.
don't know if you've rubbed shoulders with too many people that are kind of programmers and tech people, but they're really excitable. They love
Yeah.
Star Wars, and I'm being really stereotypical. I'm so sorry,
It's
but there's a lot of emotion with these people. So the trades were wild.
right.
It would like somebody would just drop all their money on a single trade at a market order, and the price would just plummet. And then it would bounce back, and then it would be really high. I mean, it was all over the map, like almost like trends. You could only really use basic trends to follow the price. It showed no structure. It respected almost, very few indicators,
Right.
and it's because it was a different group of people trading the coin. Um, but later on, back in 2017, we started seeing a lot more structure. And you could tell that hedge funds and Wall Street were curious. And
Right.
so now it started behaving a little bit more typical. Like it would follow rules and it would follow things because the people that are more sophisticated that are looking at those rules were actually trading it. And so you could see a lot more of that structure happening. Now it's a whole different animal.
Right.
It moves a lot slower. It does trade a lot more like an index rather than like an individual stock or like a penny stock like it was back in 2012. So it's changed a lot.
Right. Um, what about the current state of the market? What thoughts do you have about the current state of market, and where do you see it heading in the future?
So I still believe that we're in a 4-year cycle. I think it's still in play.
Right.
And I think it's losing its power. The reason the 4-year cycle exists was because miners were forced to sell to pay for their equipment. And every halving, they literally had half as much Bitcoin to sell. And that was why we have these wild runs after the halving event happens. Well, now that mining companies are kind of publicly traded and they're raising money in other ways, they don't have to sell Bitcoin to keep their operations afloat. And it's really only emergency situations where they do. So in the future, I'm expecting that halving event to be less of a thing. But right now, it still is. And it could
Right.
be for the next couple of halvings. I don't know. But what's happening now is we've come off of our bottom. I feel like our bottom is in, and we're rising up um, in a pretty normal fashion. So we come off the bottom. A lot of the relief in the market is coming back, and people have a memory. So they're like, okay, I can see this. We're coming off the bottom. But what I think we're doing is we're going to come up into a switching phase
Right.
where we find a place where we're going to find some resistance for about 6 months, or it could be 6 months to 9 months, somewhere leading up to the halving. We're going to hit some resistance, and I feel like we're getting closer. Um, so lately, I've been trying to position myself to be able to handle a little bit more of a sideways market.
Right.
I kind of divided the market up into the year of the bear, the year of the bull, the year of the ramp up, and the year of the chop. And we're in that choppy year where we're kind of up and down. So we've had a good run, and I feel like we're gonna need to come back and find some more support this year. But it's just
Right.
all in balance. We're trying to keep our heads rational.
Right. Do you share these kind of predictions with your channel and your members, or you let them come up with your own, their own predictions of these sorts?
Yeah, I kind of give my opinion a lot, but I love input from other people. And
Right.
if anyone ever disagrees with me, I love it, because I like to hear. I don't want it to be an echo chamber,
Right.
but I do give my opinion a lot. Usually, my opinion's pretty tempered. I, don't- I it takes a lot to get me excited, and
Right.
it's usually because something's fully back tested, and we've just broken a trigger that really should generate some excitement,
Right.
But yeah,
Okay,
it's pretty rational there, and I share all those things with the
right.
pros. Yeah.
Do you have any particular or specific sources of information that keeps you informed about the latest developments in the crypto industry? Can you tell us about those sources if you have any?
Yeah, I mean, in general, I believe that news is a misdirection. News is usually used as a tool by influential groups
Yeah.
to convince the masses that something's going to happen. If the news is objective, like if it's fact based, like this event is happening, and there's any way you spin it, the facts are the facts. I love that kind of information. But yeah, I love to be generally aware of what's going on, and it's also helpful to know what the world is being fed, so that you can kind of figure out what the contrarian view is sometimes.
Yeah.
But I like to use Twitter. I
Okay.
like Twitter for my news, because it's fast, and it
Yeah.
then it comes in quickly. I don't get buried in crypto Twitter. I know people talk about how crypto Twitter is a thing, but I don't follow. I kind of follow major news outlets, and just major things like whale.guru or whatever
Right.
is pretty good. They're usually giving some pretty objective facts of what's happening in the market.
Right.
But I like to listen to other YouTubers and other things just to get sentiment.
Yeah, of course, that's a more.
Sometimes for
Yeah.
contrarian positions.
um so you talked a lot about the risk management, and the risks that of course are there in the crypto and trading. If you had to narrow those down, what are the biggest risks and the challenges that you personally face as a crypto trader, and how do you manage them?
It's the two biggest risks are emotion and
Right.
volatility. If you get too excited,
Yeah.
you can get yourself into trouble. If you get too scared, you can make mistakes.
Of course.
If things are volatile, and um, you can get yourself into a bad situation, even if you're right in the end. And so, the things that I teach people are, if you want to turn down the volume on your emotions, and turn up your risk management, the dial is called position size.
Right.
This, if you have $1 million position that has a potential of dropping in half, or tripling, or whatever, you've got a tiger by the tail. If you have a $10 position that could drop in half, or could double or triple on you, the emotion is completely different. And so, if you can find that sweet spot for you, where the position size is in a place where it tempers your emotion, you make better decisions, and
Yeah.
you'll make a lot more money with a handful of $10 positions than you will on $1 million position, when you're super emotional, because you're going to lose a
Yeah.
crap load of money. You're going to get killed.
Absolutely. So I also watch YouTubers that talks about crypto, and there's a lot of YouTubers that goes to people who became millionaires using Bitcoin. Now the thing is, they're asking them for advice on crypto trading, but the thing is, the people who most of the people who became millionaire using Bitcoin, their only talent was buying the Bitcoin and then forgetting about it. So I think
Mhm.
that's a false outlet. People asking those people advice about the crypto trading. So I want to ask you, because you're a proper trader, and what advice would you give someone who wants to start as a crypto trader, and what mistakes should they avoid?
Well, being a crypto trader is it is definitely it can be challenging. It can be very hard to do. The reason I'm successful is because of my emphasis on risk management.
Right.
Um, it's I think if you are just shooting in the dark, uh, there's almost no way you can do it full time, because by the time you're investing sums of money that are large enough to sustain you, it's emotional. And so you're gonna need somebody to walk you through some of the emotions of your decisions. And if you're trading and you're bored and doing things like that, you're just gonna get killed. And so it's hard. Let me just say that trading is not easy, and trading for a living is a next level,
Yeah.
because um, the amount of emotion involved is just that much higher. The reason I can add value and help out is that I make a lot more from trading than I do on my subscription channel. So for one, I do it because I love to kind of rub shoulders with people and get other ideas. I think it's valuable. Um, and I'm a fairly social person. I like to rub shoulders with other people and build a community. And so, living the rest of my life in my basement, doing my own thing is, it's not as fulfilling of a life. And I've kind of gotten to a certain point in my life where I can do whatever I want. And so, to do this with friends sure changes things. But yeah, if I was starting, I it would be very difficult to find a mentor or a teacher or somebody who could get me to an emotional place. Anyone that's interested that joined my channel, they'd be definitely a leg up on the on how this works. Many groups out there will teach you how to trade, but they won't show you what they're doing if
Yeah.
something goes wrong. And my channel, I'm literally live trading in front of you.
Right.
So when you get on, it's like once a day. I place trades once a day, unless there's an emergency or something. But I show you every single position I have. I walk you through why. You can see the position size I have versus my portfolio. You hear my decision of why I'm doing this and why I'm doing that. And almost no other group will ever do that,
Yeah.
because they have to maintain the facade that they know what they're doing.
Yeah.
And mine, you'll see my mistakes. But how valuable is that? Seeing a guy make a mistake and explain where he's at,
Mm.
why, what he's going to do about it. Like, those are the things that nobody teaches you. And that's where my channel is valuable. So for a new person, it would be super, super helpful to at least get that, even if you just joined just to watch for a
Right.
year, just to get like, oh, wow, this is harder than I thought, and I'm gonna see how to deal with some of these challenges this way, and then you slowly increase your emotion by adding more money to your portfolio and really giving it a try.
Right. What cryptocurrencies, you know, or basically, first of all, how do you decide which cryptocurrencies you want to invest in, and what factors do you consider while choosing them?
So the number one thing that I'm looking for is order book depth,
Right.
because since I'm trading with a group, it needs to be deep enough that markets aren't going to move very far.
Yeah.
And so I'm usually looking for at least $10,000 in on every line on the order books. And there's only a handful of coins that'll do that. There's
Mm.
probably the top 100 are consistently able to keep an order book that fat. And so that's kind of the number one. I'll trade anything because everything has a cycle, everything has emotions. The trends will play out in anything. But I also like to trade coins that are a little bit older. I don't like the newest ones. If the coin's not a year old, I'm hesitant to trade it because um, in the first year, you'll know whether it's a rug pull.
Yeah.
You'll know if if it has legs, and there are thousands of coins. So since 2012, I've seen literally thousands of coins come and go, and you can't just put your money in everything. You kind of have to make sure that it has staying power. If you know the coin's going to stick around, there's still tons of money to be made. There's plenty of ups and downs to do it. So I literally trade 100 coins, and
Wow.
I put a tiny, tiny percentage of my portfolio in each of these. And I have a much larger allocation to Bitcoin and Ethereum, and I just hedge the entire thing and keep things going. But we'll just zip down through the coins that we trade every day. This one looks fine. This one looks fine. Oh, this one needs a trade, and we go check it tomorrow, and we don't have to stress about it all day long.
Right. So I'm guessing the biggest percentage of your portfolio contains Bitcoin, if I'm not wrong.
Yeah.
Okay. So,
Yep.
what's your opinion, on the long-term viability of Bitcoin and, other cryptocurrencies too, but mostly Bitcoin? And how do you see the value of Bitcoin and other tokens evolving over time? Now, some people have given their predictions and people have mocked them about this. I saw one of these really popular clip going about a person confidently saying that the value of Bitcoin will be at around 2030 will be 10 million or even 100 million, and it was like insanely popular clip over there. So I want you to give a take on your prediction on where Bitcoin will be in the next years, let's say 5 years.
Yeah. I think eventually Bitcoin will go higher
Right.
because it is digitally scarce.
Yeah.
There is a limited number, and it just can't be. You just can't inflate it to infinity. So it has to go up versus fiat, because fiat is infinite. And at some point, fiat will have its hyperinflation event and whatever. And at that point, Bitcoin will be worth a lot. Whether that'll help you or not is up for debate, because if the rest of the world currency inflates, and so that you're buying a T-shirt for $1,000, then $1
Yeah.
million Bitcoin is still relatively
Yeah.
it's still in the realm of reality. But yeah, I feel like that it's definitely going to go up, but the point is that it's a hedge against inflation. But I do think about it differently. So this answer might surprise you. What Bitcoin is supposed to do and what it will actually do may not be the same. I'm a Bitcoin OG, and I just hope and pray that Bitcoin becomes the world currency and that it becomes, everybody's reserve currency for the world. But I also know that governments and other groups are they will fight it.
Right.
And how do you fight a scarce asset? It's by creating paper versions of it. This happened to gold. So there's more than 10 times the amount of paper gold traded than actual gold traded. And if it had stayed as physical gold traded, the value of gold would be off the charts. But the fact that so much paper gold is traded, and they're printing so much money that they can push prices down and keep things in a range, gold never was able to expand to the level that it could have.
Right.
And I think we're going to see that in Bitcoin, unfortunately. So I hate to be the bearer of bad news, because I love Bitcoin and I really want it to succeed. But I actually think that it's going to be harder for Bitcoin to go up in value the bigger it gets, unless a major event happens. Like if it really becomes a global reserve currency or something, where the people that are buying are central banks, it's going to be hard to get Bitcoin out of a range. And so I'm a little cautious about being super over bullish about what the end game will be. I mean, I hope it will, but I just can't say that it will. So I'm just kind of having to look at it from a really objective lens, because do I mortgage my house and take all my kids' savings accounts and put it into Bitcoin because I think it's going to be worth $1 million in 5 years? I'm just not there. If the trend says we're going up, then we're long. But
Right.
how long does that last? It lasts as long as the trend lasts, and then we reevaluate. So I'm kind of taking things one step at a time in my trading.
Do you have
Do I
any?
have reserve? Yes, I hold Bitcoin, and I try to keep that stack growing because I am long-term bullish. But yeah, you have to really be sensible about everything too.
Do you have any estimate or idea on when this event might take place?
Well, the question is whether it will or not. Um, I've been very disappointed that the United States, which is supposed to be the most free country on
Yeah.
the earth, is putting
Yeah.
the biggest adversity to Bitcoin and crypto right now is the United States. And if the freest country in the world is fighting it the
Yeah.
hardest, it makes it pretty challenging to think, if by some series of events, the US is like, okay, well, I think we're going to start, it's going to be legal everywhere. It's legal tender. We're going to start amassing it in our in our central bank. Um, I mean, it would be a total game changer, but it's really hard to see that from here. Could it be forced to happen? I mean, potentially, but right now the biggest buyers of crypto are United States citizens. If it was
Yeah.
ever, if the on ramps were cut down and it was really hard to get into, it would be more difficult. So it's one of those really, it's a binomial option. It's either going to be stagnant or it's going to absolutely fly. And so I'm willing to put some chips on the table for the case that it does fly, but I don't think you still want to keep some diversification in place
Yeah.
just in the case that it doesn't. So,
Right.
but yeah, I guess I can try to answer your question. In 10 years, do I think Bitcoin could hit $1 million? I think so.
Wow.
So if
Okay.
that answers your question, I would say
So,
it could, for
um,
sure.
this what about other events that might take place? Because we have seen some of the countries that have either fully banned crypto, and some who have put other regulations, like including my country and my neighbor, who put like 35% or 40% tax on crypto that is being dealt. And my neighboring country, India, I think actually they put some. They're considering it as a crime if you mine crypto there. So what if major events like these starts happening? Do you still believe that it'll still reach $1 million?
Um, I think it can, but what's funny is it'll probably get there from a different angle.
Right.
And what that means is that could it hit $1 million in a black market? Yeah. Could it
Yeah.
hit $1 million because um, Russia is trying to get around sanctions and they decide to adopt it as their currency? Oh yeah, it could totally hit
Yeah.
$1 million. There are a lot of not perfect ways for it to happen because Bitcoin's a Pandora's box. You can't put it back in the box.
Yeah.
All you can do is arrest people for having it, or you know what I mean. Like
Yeah.
even then, it'd be so hard to enforce. It's really a difficult thing to put back in the box, and I think the more people realize that, the better. And I think there are politicians in every country that see the benefit of it, and so I think there will always be some people championing for it. So anyway, I think it can hit there no matter what, whether the U.S. can get it there or they're left out in the dust. It'll be to the U.S.'s own detriment, but
Yeah.
it could still get there. And it's just a matter, just the fact that the rest of the world prints money and Bitcoin's limited in supply. So
Yeah.
eventually it'll have to, right?
Yeah. I mean, I do think that the major governments will try to control it, try to regulate it, but eventually, I don't think they can. But I do think that they will try their best to be, put as many restraints as they can, because Bitcoin is about, giving control to the people, and
Yeah.
the governments and the banks doesn't want that. Okay, so we're gonna move forward to other questions related to crypto trading. Now, how do you determine your entry and exit points when trading cryptocurrencies, and what criteria do you use to identify potential trading opportunities?
Well, I like to look at a variety of things. I created my own indicator, and so people
Right.
that follow my channel in the description, there's a link to my
Yep.
indicator that I like to use.
Right.
I've kind of broken things up into green zones, yellow zones, red zones, and white. And usually, buying, the best place to buy is usually when you're exiting a red zone. That's usually a pretty good spot. And then usually the best place to sell is usually when you're exiting a green zone. But I also look at candlestick patterns.
Right.
I look at chart formations. I like looking at support and resistance. You'll see me using that a ton on my channels. Support and resistance usually comes in the form of moving averages. And then but yeah, I kind of use kind of a smaller toolbox. I don't like to get overly complicated, and I don't like to get overly scientific, because in my mind, the indicator you use is less important than the management that you're employing.
Right.
So I'm kind of the school that if you can use any indicator out there, and if it says buy, and you're right, good, you make some profits, nice. If you're wrong, then you need to look for another buying entry point. If the price goes against you, your risk reward improves, because the odds of it going down and staying down is low, lower. And so you try to catch it at a better point, but you just better make sure that your next buy signal is far enough from your original one that you're meaningfully averaging down or something, so that you're actually, taking advantage of the improvement in risk reward.
Right.
So I kind of have a whole different viewpoint. I'm a really patient trader, and there are times when I've got a decent percentage of my portfolio that's just in a holding position where I'm just in the red, and I'm waiting for markets to improve
Right.
the way they are. But hopefully that answers your question.
Yeah. So one questions. Now you're not just a crypto trader. You're a crypto trader that people look up to. You have a channel and people kind of like follow you. They learn from you, and there may be some people like you probably know that copies what you do. Are there any people like those? Do you think there are? The people copies like the trades that you make, where you get into the coins that you hold. Do you think there are people who does that?
Yeah. I always tell people that their decisions are their own, because I'm
Right.
not a accredited financial advisor or
Yeah.
broker or whatever. But I know that there are those that will follow what I'm doing, because I'm, you
Yeah.
know,
Of course. So that's my point. So knowing that there are people who follow, and the steps that you take, the decisions that you take, do you feel kind of like a pressure that if you take wrong decision, those people are also going to take the wrong decision and going to go for a loss, and you feel for it, so you know don't take too much risk. You don't try to seize the opportunities, and you go for more safer side. Does that
well,
pressure influence your decisions as a crypto trader?
yeah, I mean, it can. I definitely do think about the people that are on my pro channel.
Right.
I probably worry about their portfolios more than I worry about my own
Right.
portfolio, because yeah, there is some pressure there. Um, but if my portfolio is in a tough spot and things are in a certain place, the best I can do is explain why I'm doing what I'm doing.
Right.
And honestly, if I blow up my account, then something's
Yeah.
broken, because it's pretty hard for me to blow up my account.
Yeah.
My the risk, the size of my trades and where I'm at, it's pretty tough. Like it would be an unusual day. It would be a nuclear bomb in New York or something before my account just disappeared. Um, but I do have some, there is pressure there, and I do worry about them. And in
Yeah.
times when I can feel my own portfolio being in a spot where, okay, guys, there's probably some pain ahead, because we're on this side of the chart and we're showing indication that the other side's gonna move. Let's look, how let's estimate how far that could go. How far in the portfolio is that gonna, what is the drawdown gonna be from this, if possible, if we can get an estimate there. And if it's too much, then we need to reevaluate risk. We need to pare down size. We may need to take some small losses to get things in check again. But yeah, it's definitely one of those things where my channel is 100% transparent. People know exactly how much money I've made and lost. And when things are starting to look ugly, um, you know, I just
Yeah.
have to say, this is where my head is. I'm not your dad. You have
Yeah.
to make up your own mind. But
Yeah.
I'm gonna, I'm sticking with this,
Yeah.
and I'll see how it goes.
Absolutely. Okay. We're gonna move ahead with the final question, and then we're gonna conclude this interview. And this question will be, I think it'll be important for me as well because I do want to know about this. What advice would you give to the traders who are looking to improve their charting skills and become more profitable in the crypto market?
Yeah, there's a ton of information on how to chart. But at the very least, I'm a pretty good charter, and I have a free channel. So you don't
Right.
have to pay the $100 a month is just my pro channel.
Right.
I do that because it keeps the trolls out. It keeps
Yeah.
people that are serious in the conversation. It's
Yeah.
just good. It's worth it to the people that are there. But there is a free channel, and I will on a daily basis, or I try to do it every day. I'll go through and really evaluate trends, and I'll get deep into the emotions of the market and things, and it's all through charting.
Yeah.
So if you want to learn how, you can definitely follow along. I have my own little flavor.
Right.
I don't try to get super complex with all these little indicators and all these odd things. I look at the motion of the market, where we're finding resistance and support. We point out targets whenever they show themselves. But I think you'll learn a lot about charting just joining the free channel, and that's also at cryptoinfluencers.com. I've
Yeah.
got two, the free channel and then the pro channel.
Right. You guys will have the link to the cryptoinfluencers.com and Kelvin Wade's free channel and also the pro channel, including the coupon that will be there. So make sure that you get that. And yeah, so we have all the questions covered, and I'll let you conclude this interview. So you can do that.
Well, thanks. It was really cool to sit and chat about something that I'm passionate about. I mean, you have to be a pretty big nerd to be
Yeah.
involved in this as long as I have, and
Yeah.
still just every single day I'm, you know,
Yeah.
just totally immersed in it. I watch every move. But this is kind of way I like to say it. For every year in the crypto market, it's a decade on the regular market. So if the regular market is emotional, you're probably going to need some help in the
Yeah.
Bitcoin market. Otherwise, it's just a big casino. And if you're trading like you're at a roulette table, um, you know,
Yeah.
how much money did you lose at the roulette table? And maybe it's worth investing a little bit in some education.
Yeah.
So that's kind of that's where some of this is worth it. Even if you don't follow a single thing I say, watching me struggle through the good, the bad, and the ugly, and completely seeing, things from just fully transparent, things get real, because a lot of groups will just be like, hey, I'm going to teach you how to do this. And if you do this, you'll do it right. And then if you lose money, it's your fault. Well, on my channel, you were watching me place trades in real time. Like I seriously start a Zoom every day,
Right.
and people are on live, and they'll watch me put a trade in, and everything's happening right in front of you. And so you can see when I make a mistake or when things go wrong, and you'll see me sweat through a challenge. And that's when trading is real.
Yeah.
Now you know what you're in for if you want to do this for a living. You
Yeah.
have to take the good with the bad. But the good is beautiful, man. It is fun to make money when things are flying.
Yeah.
It is
Absolutely.
fun. So there's both sides.
Yeah. Well, there you have it. Thank you so much for, again, taking out time for this. It was really amazing talking to you. And for all the people who are looking into becoming a crypto trader or are a crypto trader and wants to become better at this, I think this is a perfect opportunity for you guys and a perfect place, for you to be in a perfect community. So again, links will be in the description. You can check it out. And if you still have any other questions, you can put them down in the comment section. Yeah, that's all of you guys, in this interview, in this session, and I'll see you guys in the next one shortly. So stay tuned.